We are going to call this meeting to order, or actually reconvene from a recess. We called the meeting to order earlier in the evening to discuss an in-camera item. And at this point, March 11th, 2024, we'll resume our Committee of the Whole meeting. So the first item on the agenda then would be any items added or approval of the agenda. Are there any items to be added?
Yeah, Madam Warden, can I add Operation Veterans Build, please?
Operations Veterans Bill?
Yep, just a building program, yep,
Okay.
for the local legion.
Okay.
Yep, just topic of discussion, please. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Deputy Warden. Any other additions? Could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Could I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Any further discussion on the agenda? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion is carried. The next item is the review of the minutes from February 12th, 2024. And if there are no errors or omissions, I'll ask for a motion to approve, please.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Deputy Warden. Seconder?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. So next item on our agenda are presentations. So this evening for Committee of the Whole, we have two presentations ahead of us. First is Celeste Gotel with the Seniors Take Action Coalition regarding the Decade of Healthy Aging. And Celeste is joining us virtually. Following Celeste, we'll have a presentation from Stan Johnson with Bidaba. So Celeste, we will hand things over to you. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I ended up with healthy aging and what an age-friendly community is. So I have prepared a slide deck, which I'm assuming all of you have received. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to kind of give you some context as to why it was important that we felt that we meet with you. So it was two reasons. One is, as indicated, this is the decade of healthy aging. It's been declared by the World Health Organization as the decade from 2020 to 2030. And age-friendly communities is a term that people in Richmond County have probably been hearing about for years, but not everybody completely understands what it means. In the last year, we received a grant through the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care with the province, a grant funding stream called Age-Friendly Communities, where we committed to do a number of things. And one of them is we wanted to help promote more about what an age-friendly community is so that people would develop a deeper understanding. Seniors Take Action Coalition has been around since 2016, and actually our tagline for our logo is promoting age-friendly communities. So a lot of what we do is precisely that. So as mentioned earlier, in 2006, the World Health Organization developed what was called a global age-friendly cities project. And as a result of that, a number of communities across the world started to become engaged in what's called age-friendly communities. And one of the main reasons for that is that the idea of an aging population is something that is being felt worldwide, and it's considered to be one of the most important medical and social demographic problems worldwide. Now, am I supposed to be using my PowerPoint deck to move, or are you guys moving it?
I shared the screen with you.
Yeah, we can see it, Celeste.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Celeste, it looks like we're seeing your Gmail or something.
Oh, dear.
I mean, it's just a blank screen. We're not reading your emails, but just it looks like it's mail.google.com.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Nothing is.
There, we can see the slide now that says World Health Organization.
Okay, I'm going to leave it on that. Unfortunately, I'm going to see the side view as well, but I'm probably bore you to death.
No worries, Celeste. I do want to mention too. We've checked in I think the live feed that we have with Telil is picking up your audio well. It is a little quiet in the room that we're in, so anything you could do to kind of speak up would be much appreciated.
Okay, I will do that. I can
Okay.
project my voice, and I'm going to turn up the speaker as loud as I can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so back to are offered in Richmond County really need to consider the needs of an aging population. And I'm not only speaking of the services that are offered by the municipality, but the services that are offered by not-for-profit organizations, businesses, etc. Some of the reasons why that's important is because it will encourage residents to remain in the area. So if people know that they have services available to them as they age, they're less likely to relocate to another area that has more improved services or services that better meet their needs. The other thing it does is it attracts others to return home. So there are a lot of people that have left Richmond County and have gone and spent their lives working and raising families in other parts and are now kind of at that retirement age where they're considering what they may want to do. If there are lots of services that are available for older adults in Richmond County, that may be a way to attract people to return home when they've retired. It also may also prove to be a way that Richmond County can attract people that are not even from the area. And we have evidence of that, certainly in the last few years. A number of people that really don't have any strong connections to Richmond County, for some reason, are finding their way. And it's because we can offer so much, and we can continue to offer more if we have services in place to actually market that so that people will consider Richmond County as a retirement home. another key point is that older adults represent the largest percentage of taxpayers for the municipality. So it's really important that we try to keep them in the area because they are contributing to the tax base. And finally, when we plan for an age-friendly community, we're actually planning that all ages can benefit for years to come, because that means that what we do now will help people as they grow older, and that will be available to them as well. When we talk about an age-friendly community, we're also talking about not just for older adults, although that's kind of what started it. An age-friendly community is really from birth to death. So if you have services that are really good for an aging population, chances are they're also going to benefit other ages, either presently or as time goes on. So there are 8 basic domains of an age-friendly community, and those are provided here. But I'm just going to give you just a quick example of each of those as it applies to living in Richmond County. So when we talk about outdoor spaces and buildings, what that suggests is that if we have spaces that are accessible to people, that are like sidewalks that are available so people can have active living, we have trails that are maintained so that people can get out there and be active. We have buildings, both for business and government buildings, that are accessible and make it possible for people to actually go into those facilities without any barriers while they're in the facilities, to make sure that there's bathroom facilities, that maybe higher toilets, things like this that will make it more possible for people to engage in the community. When we talk about transportation, we know that as people age, there are a lot of things that may happen. One may be that their own health declines and they're no longer able to drive, so they need to look at alternative transportation. Transportation is particularly challenging in rural communities because essentially a lot of rural communities are not walkable. We need cars to get to where we want to go, whether it's for groceries or even to do social events. So by having an active transportation system will ensure that people don't become further isolated because they're not able to drive because they've lost their ability to drive. Affordability becomes an issue for some people as they age because their income has been reduced, so they may no longer be able to afford to have a car. So having an active community transportation system like straight area transit, which Richmond County does contribute to both financially and has a role on their board of directors, is really important for future planning. When we talk about housing, of course, housing is a huge issue across the board. It's become a crisis throughout Canada and worldwide. It's really important that when we think about age-friendly communities, that we look at the different options of housing that are available for people to age in place. And that means nursing facilities, but it also means kind of accessible units. It means independent living units that might be available for people that want to downsize, sell their home, and go into a smaller facility. And we do have a lot of that stuff happening in Richmond County. We've got private developers who have actually started to build specifically for seniors. We have the warden of Richmond County, who is the chair or co-chair of the Straight Area Housing Coalition. And there has been, I've recently learned that there has been an RFP that's gone out for the Walter Frigere School, and from what I understand, that has been designated for housing. So these are all things that are really important to have for an age-friendly community. The next two on social participation, respect, and social inclusion are really key to aging well in place. We know that social participation and social inclusion is essential for healthy well-being. We also know that, and some people may be surprised, that the evidence that tells us that being socially isolated is more harmful to your health than smoking cigarettes, for example. So the more that people, as they age, and also young people, because social isolation is also true for young moms with children. It's also true for people with mental health issues. It can be very detrimental to your health. So it's really important that communities have ways in which people can socially participate. Certainly within Richmond County, we have a lot of that going on. There are a lot of activities that are happening that people can participate in. We've got a number of seniors clubs that host activities. And whatever we can do to make sure that people remain socially included is really important to promoting an age-friendly community. We also have what we call civic participation and employment. So making sure that people have opportunities to volunteer in a meaningful way, and older adults are able to continue to work even though they may get older. Doesn't mean that because we arrive at a certain age means that we no longer have things to contribute. And we want to make sure that we value the contribution of older adults and we respect what they bring to the table. One of the key things to an age-friendly community is communication and information. And this is something that is an ongoing issue in a lot of communities. How do we get the information out there? So there are a number of ways that we are doing that. Certainly having the website and Facebook page promoting information, that would be two of the key ways we do it. We have Tillydale Community Television, for example. That's a wonderful source of information in the area. And I know both in the last couple of years, we were lucky in that Richmond County has actually got a specialized section on their website for seniors resources, and we contribute to that as a coalition. And certainly the navigation improvements to the website for more accessibility also contributes to an age-friendly community. And finally, the last one is community support and health services, and these are key to having an age-friendly community, to make sure that people have access to the services that they need so that they continue to age in place and stay healthy. So age-friendly communities essentially recognize that older adults have a wide range of skills and abilities. They understand and meet age-related needs of older adults. They respect the decisions and lifestyle choices of older adults. They protect those who have challenges and barriers, and they recognize the contribution of older adults and include them in all areas of community life. So if you see that that's happening in your community, chances are you're living in an age-friendly community. So I just wanted to provide a few examples how Seniors Take Action Coalition of Richmond County promotes an age-friendly community. And as I said, that has been our tagline for the last 8 years, and that's much of what we've done. So we did form as a not-for-profit organization in 2023, and a number of ways that we promoted is through actively communicating with older adults. We have a Facebook page that has close to 700 members, where we post probably on a daily basis, sharing information about things that are going on and things that would be of interest. We also in 2001 started a newsletter, which is produced quarterly, called Better with Age, which has a wide distribution both electronically, and I know that we have a number of businesses and other organizations, including the municipality, that also make available limited copies of print edition for people that are not able to access it online. Last year, because of the grant that we received, we were able to also implement a few other initiatives, one of which is a calendar that we now produce on a monthly basis, which has, again, a wide distribution and is also made available in print copies in a number of locations, including the municipality. Some of the other ways that we promote an age-friendly community is we actively partner with seniors clubs in the area to help them plan activities and programs. For an example, there are two programs that are coming up this week during March break, where we're partnering with the Fleur de Lis Club in Louisdale, who are offering two intergenerational programs, one on cooking tomorrow and one on games on Thursday. So those programs involve older adults taking a child with them, and it's to promote intergenerational. One of the other ways which there has been active participation around age-friendly communities is the Acting Collectively project, of which the municipality received an age-friendly grant to do that. It's been a very engaging project. One of the things I did want to share with folks is that although we're kind of changed the recruiting that we've been doing, we're not actively recruiting to the same extent as we had done last year. You'll be pleased to hear that of the 218 interviews that have taken place throughout the 3 counties, which is Victoria, CBRM, and Richmond County, of those 218, Richmond County has completed 97 interviews to date. Cape Breton Regional Municipality has completed 93, and Victoria has completed 28. I had hoped for 100, so I'm still going to be actively recruiting to get over that magic 100. because I think it's really important that we get some valuable information that's going to come out of this project, which is going to help inform what services are needed in Richmond County going forward into the future. We also act as an advocate where we have routinely sent letters to different levels of government, just raising issues of importance to us. We apply for grants to help increase awareness and offer programming. So I also wanted to bring note to some of the ways that the municipality has been already promoting an age-friendly community. Certainly adding the seniors resource section on the website and improving those navigation features has been really important. Ensuring that the accessibility plan takes into consideration the needs of older adults by staff participating and supporting the work of the Seniors Take Action Coalition, by supporting recreation programs that are targeted at older adults, by including regular features and information in Richmond Reflections, which we have been doing now for several years, where we typically would have 1 or 2 pages that are actually devoted to older adults. And there's also a number of recreation programs that are being offered as well. One of the key ways that the municipality supports age-friendly communities is by its contribution to straight area transit to make that accessible to all, as well as mentioned earlier, participating in one of the 3 counties in the Acting Collectively project. Also by providing grants to organizations that support older adults, and like most recently, I've recently learned that a number of seniors clubs have received the micro grant, that's very exciting. And there have been also occasions in the past where seniors clubs have received grants as well. Certainly providing financial support to the Dr. Kingston Memorial Center for the Senior Safety and Social Inclusion Program has been a critical thing that the county has been doing by supporting that. We have a resource available in our community, which is really important. And certainly, as I mentioned earlier, the warden co-chairing the Straight Richmond Housing Coalition and the involvement of council on the straight area transit are other examples. So I'm just going to kind of wrap it up here by giving a few examples of ways that the municipality can consider for next steps, if you will, as we kind of move forward into the future. So again, just by continuing to provide leadership and support and stewardship to advance and promote age-friendly policies and programs. So when the opportunity presents, always kind of have that as a lens. How is this impacting older adults in our community? Given the fact that almost 50% of the people in Richmond County are 55 and over, are we really kind of ensuring that we're being inclusive? Asking ourselves those questions and always putting that lens on the things that you do. Again, continuing to ensure that communications are accessible to all residents, giving consideration to things like plain language, visually accommodating digital tools, placements of messages, and the differing abilities of residents, and more are ways that communication messages will get out to all and will be accessible to all. One of the ways is the development of a vulnerable persons registry for Richmond County. This is something that the Seniors Take Action Coalition raised at the December meeting. It's our understanding that there is efforts underway to kind of look at that further, and that will be a valuable resource to many older adults who often are in a vulnerable position. One of the other things that we could suggest is that consider the addition of an older adult advisory committee of council. That was something that we had proposed when we made our submission during the strategic planning refresh process in May of 2022. Not necessarily as a standing committee of council, but as a group of people that you could call upon when you want to consider whether or not decisions you are making are being age-friendly, have that age-friendly lens. And finally, consider providing annual core funding to Seniors Take Action Coalition so that we can continue to do the work of promoting an age-friendly community. Work with local developers to improve housing options for older adults, actively promote straight area transit in communities, seek out the advice and expertise of older adults in the community, and call on the knowledge and wisdom embedded in the members of Seniors Take Action Coalition to provide support. So those are all possible next steps for consideration. And I just want to finalize or wrap up by saying that Design for the Young and You will exclude the old. Design for the old and you will include the young. By Bernard Isaacs, Founding Director, Birmingham Center for Applied Gerontology. So that concludes my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing at this point, and I'm going to extend the invitation if anybody should have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Celeste. Thanks so much for that. Some great information and good food for thought on those next steps to consider. We have run a little long on this presentation, so I'm not sure, councillors, if you have any questions. We would have to keep it short. I think your slides and your explanation did a really good job of explaining, your position and the position of STAC. So thank you for coming in, and extend that thanks to your members at STAC as well, please.
I certainly will, and you know where to find us if you ever have any questions or you want to have more conversations. The door is always open. Great.
Awesome. Thanks, Celeste.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, so the next item on our agenda is a welcome to Stan Johnson. He's here representing Bidaba, and I think you have a little presentation you can go through with us. We do have a little technical switch we have to make, so we'll just give Shelley a minute to get that done. I also want to mention when you're speaking, I think you'll need to press the mic, the red button on your mic, so that it picks up in the, yeah. So you let us know when we're ready, Shelley. We're navigating the technology tonight.
It just takes a second normally.
The pressure. It's too much pressure.
Is that what it says on that one over there? Or did it go on the screensaver? Oh,
There we go.
summer.
All right, so your presentation is showing up for us, and I guess we can get you to take it away. You'll just need to press your little red button there.
All right, thank you. All right.
We'll keep an eye on it for you.
Okay. Well, I kept holding it. That's
Oh, yeah, no.
I thought, okay. All right. As you guys know, Bidaba, it's a Mi'kmaq word. It basically means what we call the lake thousands of years ago. Basically, when the Bidor Lake filled in about 6,500 years ago, it's, as you would imagine, like the blanket on the ground with a hole in the middle. If you pour water, it would all flow into one area. So that's what basically Bidaba means. When the lakes rose, it filled in. It used to be a bunch of lakes. Now it's just one big one. It's the world's largest inland saltwater lake, so it's pretty interesting. In 2000, the elders came up with the name Bidaba. I was telling you about. It's basically the leaders of Cape Breton counties, the chiefs. And we meet on a monthly basis. Like Bidaba, we usually meet monthly, but now we've slowed it down. We want to get the members of Bidaba back on the table. It's been slacking for a bit. Right now, I'm running as coordinator for a bit till we get it back online. We're hoping to get a former counselor in as the coordinator. We've worked on some initiatives over the years. Some have been pretty big, some are small. Like we study impacts like sewage that overflow from businesses, treatment plants, anything that goes into the Bidor Lake. We're always cognizant of the fact of trying to keep the lake healthy, discharge from recreational boaters as well. Inadequate sewage from like one of the things we're worried about is I talked to I forgot her name. Anna Curtis Steele. He used to work with Nova Scotia Environment, and there's a she was telling me that there was a clause in one of the a grandfather clause, something back in '72, where it allows cottage owners to basically leave a wall up or a porch up and then build a new house around it and keep the old sewage system with the straight pipes going into the lake. That's something that we'd like to get a look at, maybe get a project together to see what type of sewage systems are discharging into the lake right now, like whether it be not just the municipalities or the First Nations, but the cottages as well. That would be great to have that looked at. A lot of other stuff we've done. The impacts of sewage include like oysters, other fishery operations. Like one of the things that we're sort of miffed about is over the years when we used to have a bustling oyster industry in the Bredor Lake years ago. And MS6 disease, which came in from, we believe, the ships that came into the Linares gypsum plant coming from Virginia area that had the MS6 disease, probably discharged their ballast into the lake. So they're looking at getting the little gypsum plant back online again. And we've actually made, we've asked the people running the operation to actually make presentations to SEPI and the Bidubal as well to see, make sure that that doesn't happen again, and what can we do to maybe mitigate that from happening again. Just like recreational activities, laws of ecosystem, traditional Mi'kmaq medicines, like a lot of stuff that's going on around the lake that we're really worried about. And it's like one of the things we did was we put up pump out stations around the lake. There's 6 of them around the lake. So if there's boats coming into the lake, they could actually discharge their sewage into the lake in one of these 6 areas. A few years ago, we had a neighbor of mine who lives on the lake. The kids were telling me there was an oil slick coming to the community. And he was oil slick. It was on a Sunday. So he went down by the shore, checked it out. Sure enough, there was a slick on the water. It came in with the tide and came back out. I worked with at the band office at the time. I asked our manager I told him what my cousin noticed. He was telling me that he was metal detecting that big pond that Sunday, and he saw an American yacht moving into the islands down by Gold Island area there, and they must have discharged their sewage and then left back out and just left a mess, right? So that's the kind of stuff that we were trying to get away from. And we're trying to look at updating outdated sewage treatment plants. Like we've done a project with Wegoma and Waikagama, those 2 communities there. Actually, we did a project together with them when they put in a new sewage treatment plant. We helped them get funding to organize that. We're doing other projects as well. There's other initiatives that we got coming on down the line. Like we did some climate change models around the lake, impacts of public infrastructure. And we looked at, say, the 50 to 100-year line of where climate change and where the water's going to be at the lake at that time. Okay, we did a climate change conference in 2013 in Wamatkuga. We did a bunch of workshops to get traditional knowledge, understanding to collaborate on action plans around the lake. And then some municipalities are working and drafting climate change action plans, as you all are, same with the First Nations. So we're helping to work with your groups as well on those. On the potable water and water conservation projects we're working on, we're working at Bordelot water ranges we set up there. They're actually working with the water supply there. As you know, Bordelot had trouble with water over the years. They got a good system now, and hopefully she stays. I guess the water in the area or the ground isn't that great for water, so that's the problem there. Water balance project memory 2, CBR memory 2, a runoff diversion project we worked on as well. And then dredging silk that was done with partnership with Environment Canada for the inland waters. And we're doing facilitating dialogue with Inverness County and Wamatko, leading to memorandum of understanding for just a sewage treatment in their area as well. Bidubal 2024 and beyond, UINR is working on our partners, SEPI's partner as well with us, and always the biosphere. And we've acquired some resources to expand and engage with partners on some of the projects. I'm currently drafting a 5-year action plan. One of the big projects we're working on is called the Maliamugim Sisquatwana project, which is a species at risk initiative that's looking at all the species at risk around the Bredor Lakes and the Unamagi and seeing what could be done to maybe see what's causing like the species at risk, like some of the species that we're working at. One of the big problems we're looking at is the bumblebees. Basically, as we all know, without bumblebees, none of us would exist as well. So we have a big project and looking at those and why there's some that are on a decline and some are coming up. Another big project we'll be working on, which is we're trying to get like the municipalities back online again with the First Nations. It's actually a Numagi Watershed Data Collection Project, which is starting up this year. It'll be put on by UINR, and we'll be working with the municipalities on stakeholder engagement and data collection of all the areas. It's flood mapping, so we were looking at climate change initiatives there, and it's a project put on by the, let me get the name of this group here. The Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. And they're working with us. Daniel Bryce, who's the senior planner. The project will start at the end of this month and should finish up by September 30, 2025. So we'll be doing engagements in your communities as well as our communities and looking at flood mapping. We're looking at planned erosion control. One of the big initiatives that were looked at was Maligawaj and Budlidik. As you guys heard, Budlidik a couple of years ago was on the news where the graves were coming out of the shoreline there. When they did some research there, they found a bunch of cadavers basically all around. See, the whole island is actually a burial mound, and it was that way before even the priests came over. So that's one of the things we're looking at. And there's another place in Maligawaj, actually, that was a burial ground there that was uncovered by the Northeasters we get here. They did a big project there maybe 10, 15 years ago where they just piled a bunch of rocks by the burial ground there to try to keep it from washing into the lake. It worked for a while, but it was emergency control. Now it's actually where it wasn't put in properly. It was just an emergency thing. Now that the water is flushing into the rocks, pulling it back out, so the silt is coming back out. That's another problem that'll have to be looked at again. So in these other areas, so we looked at a couple areas in Iona and some other areas around the lake. Other municipalities were concerned about that. The shorelines are falling into the lake, and what can we do? Maybe there's some type of initiatives we can work on. Maybe because Bedore Lake's not the ocean; it's just the lake. But when northeasters come in, like I've been to Maligawaj, when the northeasters come in, and it comes right across the lake. There's nothing stopping it. So when she hits the shore, she hits it hard. And mostly Maligawaj, those areas are sand, right? So it just pulls it right out and it's gone. Like I had a property there I lost. Just an example, I had a cabin there, had about 20 feet of grass, there was a couple of trees, there was a road, another 10 feet of grass, and it was the shoreline. It was all about 75 feet in total. This was in 2003 when I used to go out to the cabin. Now my cabin's gone. I gave it away because the last time I looked, my cabin was 2 feet over the bank. And it was going to fall into the water, so I gave it to the local guy there. We pulled it in and he used it in another area. But just like 2003 to like last 20 years, lost 75 feet of shoreline there. And actually, when you look at like the problem we're having around the lake is a lot of people are shoring up the shoreline with armor stone. Now, these people can afford it and all that, but the adjacent properties to it are the ones that are getting all the damage, right? So that's why we were looking at maybe checking that out and see if there's other initiatives we can do that without using armor, and what can we use. So we looked at a couple of things called reef balls that they used at some resorts down south, where they actually held back the ocean by gaining back 90 feet. Like they used to have 90 feet of water frontage or shoreline before. It came down to right to the wall of the building. They installed these reef balls in the water. And what a reef ball is, it's like, you know those hockey balls you used to have with the holes in them? There's like half of those. You put them in the water, stack them in, and stack them on each other. And we put an aggregate in there that gets oysters and all this type of wildlife to actually stick to it and survive off it. And it turns into like a little coral reef. But you put them in an area along the shoreline where we get a lot of damage, maybe like a foot, 16 inches below the surface. And when with big storms coming, they sort of hit those first before they hit the shore, and they peter off behind it. So we're losing a lot of eelgrass and that kind of stuff behind the shorelines everywhere, right? So we're trying to get that going. That's another initiative we're looking on. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but basically this is one of the initiatives we're working on, and we're inviting Beetlebach to come back to the table. Well, you're already at the table, Amanda, but like the other municipalities, we'll be making pitches to them as well to work on these initiatives. There's a lot of stuff that we can work together with the First Nations and municipalities. They're all basically bordering on. Well, our borders are there, and we all touching each other, but when you look at marine spatial planning and the stuff that's coming down the pipe to, like, there's no borders for storms or stuff like that, so we should all work together on these initiatives and make for a more healthier Bedore Lake and for the communities as well. And info is my info there.
All right. Thank you, Stan. Storms definitely don't pay attention to borders. They don't care about that. So, and I've certainly heard from lots of landowners about, meters and meters of land that they're losing, as time passes, for sure. So, anybody have any questions for Stan? Okay. So I guess what I would say, Stan, is that, we just in our bylaw and policy committee meeting that we had earlier today, one of the things we are looking at is committee structure, and we did talk about, Biduba and our plans to kind of try to be present there. We kind of talked about it was, it's Biduba really is us, right? It is our councils together, all 10, right? So, it's really great to have this overview. And I think, too, helpful, because I know from time to time, we provide some financial assistance through grants or whatever. So really helpful for us to have this kind of overview and summary. It gives us some context as to what we're investing in. So it's great. Thank you. I think that's about it. We'll, unless anybody has any other questions. No? Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. It was great information. And we have a copy of that, and it's part of our agenda package, which will be online.
I'll
So
let you know in the next meeting. So we're
Yeah.
trying to make the round of all the municipalities and First Nations before we set up the next meeting.
yeah, great.
All right.
Thanks, bud. Safe travels. Okay. All right. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the review of the Warden's Council report that was provided in advance and on time by some miracle. There you go. Are there any questions on the council report? It's just for information purposes at this stage. Okay. And I guess that the next item is the Coastal Action Plan. So you would have seen in the council report that I did attend a session last week, I think it was Wednesday night, that NSFM held with Minister Hallman. Minister Lohr was tied up in the legislature and couldn't make it, but Minister Hallman from Environment was there, as well as members of his staff, to talk about, obviously, the news about the shift in, process or direction of coastal protection in the province of Nova Scotia. Certainly, NSFM had raised some concerns about, there not being a provincial approach with this new direction, and things like that were discussed in the meeting last week. I did want to mention some of the key messages for, that the province provided to us. In their view, it does leverage municipal expertise. We kind of know the land, we provide the zoning, we do the permits, et cetera, and so they really felt that this new direction will position us to work in partnership with the province. They've also, they feel that this also recognizes our jurisdiction for how things are planned and zoned in our municipalities. It has provided tools such as floodline maps. And we had some conversations around the data that is informing those floodline maps and standing behind that data to help with the planning process. It discussed that they are going to be investing in tools. They've increased their investment in the Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund and the Community Climate Capacity Program. And so there could be some opportunity for us to access funding in the future to bring on, potentially dedicated skilled climate change staff, or planning, or to do some planning or implementing, or even putting another. We have a bit of a climate plan now, but certainly I don't think it's been looked at since 2013, if I'm recalling correctly. So it's been some time. So there could be some resources to put towards that. Essentially, in their minds, the pillar of the plan, a pillar of the plan is property owner accountability. So really putting the onus on property owners to use the tools and resources that are provided to safeguard their properties from erosion, sea level rise, etc. They have created a navigator service that will help residents interpret the risks and the hazards. The question, I guess, that remains is around enforceability. I think this was a question that this council discussed anyway with the previous plan around the Coastal Protection Act and the ensuing regulations was, is this a situation where enforceability of a provincial plan is being downloaded to municipalities? That was the concern in the previous plan. It remains a bit of a concern from the NSFM. So, they acknowledged during the call that they need to do some work on that as a province to see how that's going to really kind of roll out. So although a shift, there does seem to be some supporting information, but really I think it still remains to be seen exactly how this is going to roll out in municipalities. It's something that we've, Troy and I have communicated with John Bain about as well at the Planning Commission, and he's been able to provide some feedback and information. So at this point, if you had seen the website and the tools that they had published, you about know as much as I do, but I did want to provide an update on that meeting because it was a good conversation. So where some tough questions were asked. So, any questions on the coastal protection plan? Councillor Digdon?
Yeah, not so much a question as maybe, I just wonder if it's something that, I know we meet with the province and the funding may become available, but it might be something that we could look into for, I guess, where we feel is the most important spots to provide the coastal protection. Like, there's spots that are really eating away at our areas, and I don't know if that's part of something that we can do or it's our responsibility or how that works, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're talking about road infrastructure, it would definitely be a provincial responsibility technically, but I think, obviously there have been discussions even very recently in this county about, the protection of road infrastructure. So I think the municipality has a role in those kinds of discussions for sure. I think when it comes to other things like our, potentially our water and sewer facilities and that type of thing, that's obviously more on the municipal level. But when it comes to issuing building permits or not to let, where folks can build houses or other structures, that's, that is something where I think we're going to feel the impacts of this really keenly. So that's why we wanted to involve the Planning Commission in the analysis of that. Yeah, but it's a great point. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. The next item on the agenda is the Nova Scotia Budget 2024-2025 highlights. And I just wanted to add this to the agenda because there were some specific touch points, I think, as municipalities that we should be aware of. I provided the email from NSFM, and I wasn't sure if you folks had got that directly. But, there were some things about, related to topics that have come up at this council table in the past. One of them was continued increasing investment in cellular coverage. So I'm thinking it might be time to reach back out to, I think it's Build Nova Scotia now, since the whole, I don't think it's developed, right? Anyway, I think it's Build. Whichever the appropriate one is. We should probably look at reaching back out to them to get an update on where things sit with that work, because I do think it was kind of related to the Internet Initiative. There was some additional investment in provincial response to weather emergencies, which certainly we've been experiencing here. They've talked about also an increase in investment in policing and specifically undertaking a review of policing in Nova Scotia in general, which is, I think, a very positive steps considering the amount of funds that municipalities are investing in that. And of course, there was $70 million invested in the Municipal Capital Growth Fund, on top of the $32 million already in there, which I know has come up at the table before as well. But I'm not sure if anybody else had items from the budget that they wanted to discuss, but I did want to kind of provide it as an opportunity for open discussion.
Yeah, Madam Warren, for me, one of the highlights was, as you mentioned, the $70 million that was added on to the original $32 million when it comes to affordable housing and that. So that was a highlight for me. We all know where we're at when it comes to affordable housing in our county and in our province. So that's very encouraging. There's also investments when it comes to new builds, when it comes to the provincial HST rebate. There's investments when it comes to modular homes. The building of modular homes, there's like 11.8 million in there. There's over 35 million for new public housing units and to maintain the existing units. So that's all encouraging when it comes to housing for sure. Yeah. And to follow up, CEO, to follow up on our bylaw policy meeting earlier when it comes to our capital development policy that we're working on. Yeah, if we could look into that deadline when it comes to this 102 million, to see, you know, what the deadline is for applicants to maybe try to tap into this fund for housing projects. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, it's there for your review. If anybody has any questions, I'll try and answer them on behalf of the staff that submitted. It covers the full range of our departments.
Any questions for Troy on the staff report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is community acknowledgements. And of course, we have February's Volunteer of the Month. We usually start the list off with, and this month for February, the Volunteer of the Month is Howard McIntyre. He's a long-standing member of the board of the Johnstown Community Development Cooperative, serving as treasurer as well as most recently as chair. Howard's been a driving force for many successful community projects such as the Johnstown Landing as part of the Canadian Trails and the Johnstown Outdoor Market. And his ongoing work helps to keep upkeep the Johnstown Landing property. As the chair and the treasurer of the Brador Lakers, he's been instrumental in organizing various community events, including annual summer barbecues and St. Patrick's Day evenings. Ooh, that should be coming up then. I'll have to see if we can angle an invitation from Howard. And he's always willing to lend a hand without fanfare or expectation of credit. He represents the Brador Lakers at the Richmond County Seniors Take Action Coalition, which we heard from tonight through Celeste. And I'll just ask everyone to join us in recognizing Howard for his hard work, dedication, and commitment to community. Thank you very much, Howard. And if you see Howard out and about, please give him a thank you for his work. Okay, any other community acknowledgements? I would just like to maybe mention the Richmond, is it the Richmond Rise? I should have prepared some writing on this, but the cheerleading team from this region had competed in a large event, I think it was last week, and came back with a whole bunch of winning banners. My Facebook was flooded with all of the first and second places that they came back with. So just a big congratulations to the cheerleading group. They've done a great job. Again, nice to see that. Any other community acknowledgements? Okay. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the action required list. So the first item is a memo from our CFO, Jason Martell, regarding a request from the Richmond County Literacy Network for funding. And essentially, they are looking for a $1,000, sorry, I'm wrong. Is it $2,600? Sorry, I'm having a hard time with my math here. They're looking for $2,600. It's 1,000? Okay, I saw the number 26 up in the description.
They have a shortfall of 2,600.
That's what the
but they're
shortfall
looking
is,
for
sorry.
1,000.
Okay, so they're looking for $1,000 to support the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. This, of course, has come to the council table in the past, was a program that I know I had reached out to the new RCLN board about as soon as they were formed, and really excited to see it up and running, but just open for discussion from councillors if you feel that we should support the $1,000 request.
Yeah, Madam Warden, I think we should support that $1,000 request, and I would put a motion forward that we would take it out of our regional fund.
Thanks, Deputy Warden. You've made the motion to take that from the regional fund. Councillor Sampson?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a fantastic program. Familiar with it, and I'd be willing to put the 500 from my district fund within that 1,000.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Sampson. Any further discussion on this motion? So the motion would be to support the Dolly Parton Imagination Library project with our CLN to the tune of $1,000, 500 from the regional fund and 500 from the district fund. Councillor Sampson?
Yeah, I'd be, I don't know, Counselor Sampson has more money than me. He penny pinched, but he did good. I don't think I have as much, but I'd be willing to put $250 from my district fund as well.
I'm just going to say you may want to check your emails in your package. The 500 is the remainder in District 5. I think you've got significantly more than that.
Yeah, Councillor Sampson has made some investments for sure. There was, one large one that had come through too. So, yeah. So the motion then. So, Councillor Dignan, you're suggesting you'd put 500 from 250. Sorry, I didn't catch the amount. Yeah, so 250.
Just to be clear, you have 3578 left in here.
Right.
I'm aware it was just a joke because usually you have more money than the rest of us.
Okay, so certainly something I would be willing to contribute to as well. I would put the 250 in, or actually, I think I would put the 500, the other 500, unless Deputy Warden, you wanted to participate, but I know that there are some significant projects in your region as well, so, yeah. So we could support, the motion. We can't do the 250 each, yeah. So if you were willing to put the 500 in from your district fund, I would do the same, and that will cover the $1,000. Yeah, great, okay.
I'll second that motion.
So any further discussion on that? So the motion is to approve $1,000 contribution to our CLN with $500 from District 4 and $500 from District 5. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item is the grant request from the
Your button.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. All right, so that motion has been carried for the $1,000. I'm not sure when my sound cut out. Motion was carried to do $1,000 for Richmond County Literacy Network, 500 of which would come from District 4 and 500 would come from District 5 district accounts there. Okay, the next item is the Almadam Garden Club, the funding request for the Type 1 infrastructure grant in the amount of $4,500. So the Garden Club has provided some, background information. We do have a memo from CFO Jason Martell outlining that this grant application is ready to be considered. And I would open this for discussion from certainly the councillors in that area. If you had any comments you wanted to share on it, maybe over to you first.
Well, I will say that I don't know if anybody's attended their meetings or their green thumb planting, I guess, but they have a great system, and honestly, they'll teach you if you don't know how to plant anything, they'll teach you how to do it. They're a great little organization, and they're growing very fast. So I would be, yeah, I'm definitely willing to support that.
All right, thanks, Councillor Digdon. So it does represent about, I think it's a little less than 50% of the project. So typically when we've been entertaining these types of applications for larger projects, we've been looking for that threshold, not to exceed 50. That's kind of an unwritten practice that we've had, so it does align that way. I will mention that there is only about a little less than $6,000 left in that regional account. So how, if folks are interested in supporting this project, how we do that will have to be, carefully crafted, I guess, because we do have an additional request from the Almadam New Horizons Seniors Club for $5,000 as well to consider. So maybe over to you, Deputy Warden.
Yes, thank you, Madam Warden. The way I see it, I guess we just saved $1,000 in our regional fund, last request. So, like Councillor Digdon, I'm going to support this project as well. My take on it is maybe we look at, and I can't speak for Councillor Digdon, but I'm willing to go 1,500 out of my District 1 fund, and hopefully 1,500 out of the regional fund. And that'll leave 1,500 out of someone else's fund, I guess. But so I'll support the 1,500 out of my District 1 and looking for maybe 1,500 out of the regional. Thank you.
So that would get.
Yeah, I would be. That seems fair.
Okay, so the $4,500, I guess the motion you're proposing, Deputy Warden, is to support the $4,500 funding request with $1,500 being taken from each of the District 1, 2, and the regional fund. Okay, could I have a seconder on that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion is carried. All right. The next item on the agenda is the memo from the CFO regarding the Almadam New Horizons Seniors Club. This request is for $5,000, and it's to conduct repairs to the building, which I know we have used on occasion for municipal activities. I guess I would, again, open the floor to discussion on this. Keeping in mind those financial constraints that I mentioned earlier. But maybe I'll leave it back over to the Districts 1 and 2 councillors to open the discussion on that.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So for me, looking at this, I still have an amount in my District 1 fund, so I'd be willing to support this project as close to the 5,000 as possible, if not the entire 5,000. So I'd be looking at hopefully 1,500 again out of the regional fund and 1,750 out of my District 1 fund.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councillor Digdon, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go first next time. I don't know if I have 1,750 left, but I believe I should have.
You do. We did have an update from the CFO, Jason Martell, on the grant contributions, but I do know there were some grants that also didn't kind of happen. So at the end of the day, what I would commit to is if you'd like to allocate the 1,750 to get to the 5,000 from your fund, if there are any shortfalls, we could cover that from the District 4 one.
And yeah, I would be okay with that.
Okay. I think it should be fine, but as long as we have that understanding. So we could make the motion being to approve a $5,000 contribution for the Almadam New Horizons Seniors Club with $1,750 to be taken from Districts 1 and 2 and $1,500 to be taken from the regional fund, with the acknowledgement that if there's a shortfall in any one of those accounts, it could come from the District 4 funds. Okay. Could I have someone make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Would a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion is carried. All right, please extend our thanks to the CFO, Troy, for his work on that. The next item on the agenda is a memo from Clint Sampson, the revenue manager, regarding the request for tax reduction due to fire from Michelin Landry. So this request, I guess, is essentially they're recommending that committee of the whole write off the taxes for the property owned by Michelin Landry, which was destroyed by fire, and the amount is $762.72. And that represents the taxes on the dwelling from April 27th to March 31st. So any conversation, any discussion on that item?
I'd be willing to make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. Could I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Okay. So it is that the committee of the whole recommends to council to write off the taxes for property AN 0033200456 owned by Michelin Landry, which was completely destroyed by fire, in the amount of $762.72, which represents the taxes on the dwelling only from April 27th, 2023 to March 31st, 2024. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with my sound button this evening, so the motion is to go ahead with the write-off. So any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion is carried. All right, so the next item on the agenda then is correspondence from John Bain of the Eastern District Planning Commission regarding the appointments of staff. So this is something we do each year, essentially just to authorize his staff to act in certain capacities within the county of Richmond. So nothing too unusual with the request, but essentially what we would need is a motion to approve the Eastern District Planning Commission revised appointments effective April 1st, 2024. So this is quite time sensitive. It's that the building inspectors would be Harry Martel, Andre Sampson, and Sean Donovan, with alternates David McKenzie, Jonathan Martin, and Luke Ross. The development officer appointed would be Andrew Jones, with alternates John Bain, Wanda Ryan, Kristen Nudskoff, and Michaela Tate. Assistant development officers being Harry Martel and Andre Sampson. Appointment of fire inspectors, Harry Martel and Andre Sampson, with alternates Sean Donovan, David McKenzie, Jonathan Martin, and Luke Ross. Appointment of dangerous or unsightly premises administrators being Sean Donovan and John Bain, with alternates Harry Martel, Luke Ross, and Andre Sampson. And then the appointment of special constables for building and fire codes, dangerous or unsightly premises, and land use bylaws being Sean Donovan and Jonathan Martin. So if folks are okay with those appointments, could I have a motion to approve, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Could I have a seconder?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Any further discussion on that motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is an additional item requiring action. It's, and I believe we've done this in past years. It is the Purple Day Proclamation request. So essentially, we've received correspondence from the Epilepsy Association just requesting that we go ahead and support Purple Day on March 26th specifically. So essentially, they've provided a proclamation. And if folks are, that proclamation was provided in your package, and if folks are okay with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the attached proclamation, and which point I'll read it out once it's approved.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Okay, so any further discussion on that item? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. So the Purple Day Proclamation for 2024 reads, whereas Purple Day is a global effort dedicated to promoting epilepsy awareness in countries around the world, and whereas epilepsy is one of the most common neurological conditions, estimated to affect over 50 million people worldwide, and 42 people in Canada are diagnosed every day, And whereas 1 in 10 persons will have at least one seizure during his or her lifetime. And whereas the public is often unable to recognize common seizure types or how to respond with appropriate first aid. And whereas Purple Day will be celebrated on March 26th annually to increase understanding, reduce stigma, and improve the quality of life for people with epilepsy throughout the country and globally. Now, therefore, I do hereby proclaim March 26th, 2024, Purple Day, in an effort to raise awareness of epilepsy in Canada. So thank you to the folks from the Epilepsy Association who provided us with that information and brought this important matter to our attention. Okay. And we'll be wearing ribbons at our next council meeting. Absolutely. Thank you, Troy. Okay, great. So the next item on the agenda, there were two pieces of correspondence for information only, and these were letters that I provided regarding a couple of matters that had previously been discussed here at council or requested through other media for letters of support, etc. So one was regarding the Port Royal Bridge, and the next was regarding Tell-Il Community TV's 30th anniversary. So happy anniversary, Tell-Il. It's quite a milestone. So, any questions on the correspondence? Okay, so hearing none, I'll move on to the next item, which is the review of checks issued. Are there any questions on the review of checks for February 2024? Okay, the next item is the review of action items, also for information only. Are there any questions on the action items? All right, hearing none, we're cruising right along. I guess the next item is items added to the agenda, and it was the Operations Veterans Build. I don't know if I've got that exactly right, but over to you, Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yeah, and you did get that right, yeah. So Operation Veterans Build. This is a program that started last year at the local Legion here, the Branch 150 Legion. So it's a program that started where veterans work alongside other veterans, and it helps them rekindle their experience and talk about their experience in the service and to get support from like-minded individuals that have things in common, right? So as we all know, one of the key focuses when it comes to a Legion is to help with the transition to post-service military life, right? So this program here helps in that situation. So what it is that these individuals are building picnic tables, and they're 2x6. The construction is 2x6 and they're 6 feet long. So what they do is, spend a couple of days or a day or so and build picnic tables for local spots in the area, right? So I was hoping that we could look at some of our spots in our area and help support this program, right, and help support these veterans. So the funding, the profit and the funding goes to the Poppy Fund for the Ayrshire Legion, right? So I was looking when I had this discussion with one of the veterans. He brought up the great job we did at the Babbins Hill Look-Off, and was wondering about some picnic tables in that area, right? So I was like, yeah, I think that would work. You also look at, community halls, and you look at places where there's outdoor festivals. I think of the yacht club in Discourse that have activities at the wharf. I look at baseball fields in our area, so for me, I would like to see if we can look at funding. Maybe this is a budget discussion, but I would like to see us support this group and help put some picnic tables in and around our area if we can.
Well, I think what we could do is probably ask staff to consider it at this point. I don't know how much of a commitment we could make at this stage of the game. Need to see what would be maybe a right fit, and I think also understanding a little bit of the design of what those picnic tables would be, because there'd be accessibility and other types of, concerns about it, just that would need to make sure are checked off, right? So, yeah.
Just a motion for us to look into it, and we'll have Rec and Community Development, see if there's an opportunity here, and come back to you guys with some kind of report.
Sound okay?
To consider. Yeah,
Great.
Awesome.
Great. So could I have a motion to refer this to staff for investigation? Deputy Warden, it's all yours.
Oh, yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Councillor Digdon, thank you. Could I have a seconder, please?
Yep, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. And thanks for bringing that to our attention. It sounds like a great program. Any other discussion on that motion? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion is carried. All right, the next item on our agenda is question period, which will max out at 15 minutes for folks watching online. The phone number to call is 902-226-9885. That's 902-226-9885. Or if there are members of the gallery who would like to ask a question, they can come up to the mic at the front of the room and just press the little red button, which I seem to be having a great challenge with this evening. So I apologize to the viewers at home. There's a gremlin or something in my microphone. We're going to blame it on you gave me the bad one. So we'll just give that a minute in case folks would like to call in with a question. Okay, so hearing no questions, and there being no further business, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone, and thanks again for staff with your work on those files. It's great. Thank you. Good night, everyone.